These Soviet snipers terrified the Nazis, and with good reason.
Welcome to Eternal Moments. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start.
In the midst of World War II, these 12 Soviet snipers from the 3rd Shock Army became lethal legends of the Eastern Front. With 775 confirmed enemy kills between them, these women defied gender stereotypes while defending their homeland with deadly precision. In 1964, the controversial psychologist Ole Ivar Lovas applied electric shocks to autistic children as part of his behavioral therapy, believing that pain could correct unwanted behaviors. This disturbing image from California shows the dark methods of an era when science still did not understand autism, treating children as subjects of experimentation in the name of educational progress. In 1949, electroconvulsive therapy was considered a revolutionary treatment for mental illness, applying powerful electric shocks directly to the brains of patients. This stark image captures the brutal methods of post-war psychiatry, where physical suffering was seen as the path to mental healing. In June 1941, these German assault troops tensely awaited the moment that would change history, the start of Operation Barbarossa against the Soviet Union. With over 3 million soldiers ready to invade, these men were unaware that they were about to unleash the bloodiest military campaign in human history. In the spring of 1942, this Finnish SS volunteer on the Meuse riverfront carries a lethal arsenal: 2 machine guns, belts full of ammunition, and hand grenades. A walking human fortress, he embodies the extreme brutality of assault troops designed to break through enemy lines at any cost. In 1915, Germany revolutionized trench warfare by creating the dreaded Stoßtruppen, elite units trained to infiltrate and destroy enemy positions with speed and ferocity. This image shows the meticulous rehearsal of tactics that would transform the stalemate on the Western Front, where every move could mean the difference between victory and instant death in the mud. At an Australian field station near Ypres in 1917, a wounded soldier displays the vacant, unsettling stare of shell shock, now known as post-traumatic stress disorder. His blank expression captures the invisible psychological horror of the Great War, where the constant blasts of artillery shattered minds as much as bodies. During the Battle of Courcelette in September 1916, stretcher bearers tend to the wounded in a trench, while the soldier on the left exhibits the devastating symptoms of shell shock. Amid the mud and death, this image reveals how war broke men from within, creating invisible wounds that the medicine of the time was only beginning to understand. In September 1918, American soldiers with shell shock fish and swim near an old French castle as part of their psychological recovery. This deceptively idyllic scene depicts early attempts by military medicine to heal unseen trauma, where recreational activities sought to restore sanity to men broken by the horrors of the trenches. In 1968, during the brutal Battle of Hue in Vietnam, photographer Donald McCullen captured the broken gaze of a U.S. Marine in the throes of traumatic shock. His lost and vulnerable expression reveals the devastating psychological toll of the bloodiest urban combat of the Vietnam War, where 26 days of fighting turned the city into a hell that shattered bodies and souls alike. Before 1930, the inhabitants of the New Guinea highlands lived in complete isolation, convinced they were the only humans on Earth. This photograph captures the moment of utter awe as a man first beholds a white person, an encounter that shattered his entire worldview in an instant. In 1941, a reindeer gazes skyward as German bombers unleash hell over Soviet territory during Operation Barbarossa. The surreal image captures the innocence of animals caught amidst human madness, where even Arctic creatures became unwitting witnesses to the most devastating war in history. In September 1944, legendary photographer Wee Ji captured the precise moment of horror on Dorothy Rippertella's face after a fatal accident in New York. The stark image shows the instant reality hits. While someone lost their life in the collision with her car, she faces the devastating shock of realizing she caused a death. In 1944, the partisans of the 2nd Krajina Shock Brigade represent the fierce Yugoslav resistance against the Axis powers. These communist fighters, forged in the mountains and forests of the Balkans, waged a war of sabotage and ambushes that kept multiple Nazi divisions occupied while they liberated their land inch by inch. In 1916, Stephen Schock poses for his mugshot in Nebraska after being convicted of grand theft, his surname ironically prophetic for someone destined to cause unpleasant surprises. This police archive image captures not just a common criminal of the Progressive era, but a slice of the American prison system at a time when organized crime was just beginning its rise. Around 1918, British soldiers suffering from war trauma participate in occupational therapy sessions, weaving and performing manual labor as a pioneering treatment for their shattered minds. This historic image shows the first systematic attempts to heal shell shock, where repetitive activities sought to restore some semblance of normalcy to men who had experienced the hell of the trenches. In September 1918, American soldiers suffering from war trauma casually fish beneath the walls of the majestic Chateau de Chambord in a therapeutic attempt to erase the horrors of the front. Photographer Louis Hine captures this paradoxical scene where France's most elegant Renaissance architecture serves as a backdrop for healing minds broken by modern warfare. In September 1940, German ace Helmuth Wick excitedly recounts to his comrades how he shot down 5 Spitfires in a row during the Battle of Britain. At just 25 years old and with 56 confirmed aerial victories, Wick was a living legend of the Luftwaffe, though his glory would be short-lived. Barely 2 months later, he would be shot down over the English Channel. On November 1963, the staff of the Observer newspaper abandoned their typewriters and huddled around a small television to watch in shock the news of JFK's assassination. This image freezes the moment an entire nation stood still, where even those tasked with reporting the news became stunned spectators of a tragedy that would change America forever. On September 8, 1945, barely a month after the atomic bomb, a child with radiation burns receives medical treatment in deplorable conditions inside the fly-infested Kangyo Ginko Bank in Hiroshima. This devastating image exposes the brutal reality for the survivors, where makeshift hospitals and damaged buildings attempted to save thousands of lives with virtually no resources, while radiation continued to silently kill. In April 1994, Azerbaijani soldiers returned from the Karabakh front with vacant stares and faces scarred by the trauma of combat. This stark image by Gorenboy captures the psychological aftermath of one of the most brutal conflicts of the post-Cold War era, where young conscripts faced a relentless ethnic war in the Caucasus Mountains. In August 1957, a test airship located 8 kilometers from a nuclear explosion of Operation Plumbob was completely deflated by the shockwave. This haunting image demonstrates the invisible destructive power of atomic weapons, where even at safe distances, the force of the detonation reduced the balloon to a crumpled rag suspended in the radioactive air. On May 29, 1985, the Heysel Stadium in Brussels was the scene of one of football's darkest tragedies when a wall collapsed on Juventus fans during clashes before the European Cup final. This harrowing image captures the moment of panic as 39 people were crushed to death, a disaster that shook the sporting world and resulted in English clubs being banned from European competitions for 5 years. In 1905, this photograph of American dock workers loading copper astonishes with its extraordinary resolution, capturing every wrinkle, button, and taut muscle with a clarity almost impossible for its time. The image reveals fascinating details, such as the colossal hands of the man under the bar and the patterns of the suspenders, offering a strikingly sharp window into the brutal manual labor of the early industrial age. On March 28, 1999, Serbian locals danced triumphantly over the wreckage of the F-117 Nighthawk Something Wicked, the first stealth aircraft shot down in combat during NATO bombing raids. The downing of this invisible hunter, valued at $45 million, shot down with obsolete Soviet anti-aircraft technology, was a technological humiliation that shocked the Pentagon and became a symbol of resistance for Serbia.
In 1943, exhausted German soldiers returned from hand-to-hand combat against the feared Soviet shock troops in Ukraine, their faces reflecting the horror of the most brutal fight. Covered in mud and with vacant stares, these men had just survived the most savage kind of combat on the Eastern Front, where close-quarters engagements turned every battle into a merciless slaughter. On June 6, 1965, photographer Horst Faas captured wounded and traumatized civilians emerging from a bunker in Dong Suai after 2 hellish days of ground fighting and aerial bombardment. This Pulitzer Prize-winning image exposes the brutal reality of the Vietnam War, where civilians were caught between Viet Cong forces and American air raids that indiscriminately razed entire villages. At 9:59 a.m. on September 11, 2001, New Yorkers, paralyzed by horror, watched the collapse of the South Tower of the World Trade Center, a moment Patrick Whitty captured for eternity. Their faces reflected the utter disbelief of witnessing the unthinkable. 110 stories of steel and concrete crumbling in seconds, an instant that changed the world and is etched in the collective memory as the day everything changed. At the 1904 Olympic Games, Thomas Hicks crossed the marathon finish line exhausted after consuming multiple cocktails of brandy, egg whites, and strychnine, a poison used as a stimulant at the time. This disturbing image shows the athlete practically dying, being supported by his trainers, highlighting the brutal and dangerous methods of the primitive sport, where winning was valued more than life itself. On June 19, 1944, Lieutenant Alexander Vorachuk strides euphorically aboard the USS Lexington after shooting down 6 Japanese bombers in just 8 minutes during the legendary Great Mariana Turkey Hunt. His beaming smile and exhilarated gestures captured the climactic moment of an aerial battle where American pilots decimated the Japanese Naval Air Force, destroying more than 600 enemy aircraft in what was the largest air victory of the Pacific War. In 1967, a utility worker desperately performs mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on his co-worker electrocuted by a high-voltage power line in Florida. This Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph, titled "The Kiss of Life," captures the dramatic moment as Randall Champion hangs unconscious from a pole, while J.D. Thompson literally brings him back to life with his own lungs, miraculously saving him from death. On October 12, 1960, photographer Yasushi Nagao captured the exact moment when far-right student Otoya Yamaguchi fatally stabbed socialist leader Inejiro Asanuma during a political debate broadcast live on Japanese television. This Pulitzer Prize-winning image froze one of the most shocking political assassinations of the 20th century, witnessed in real time by millions of stunned viewers who watched as a katana pierced the politician's chest on stage. In 1918, a British prisoner of war, clearly traumatized, is captured by German troops on the Western Front, his empty, vacant stare revealing a shattered mind. The photograph shows the gaunt face and vacant expression of a man who survived the hell of the trenches only to fall into enemy hands, his eyes bearing the psychological weight of years of bombing, poison gas, and constant death. On September 11, 2001, onlookers in Jersey City watched in horror from the opposite bank of the Hudson River as Tower 2 collapsed into a cloud of dust and debris. This image captures the surreal moment when everyday life ground to a halt, when ordinary people became powerless witnesses to a historic tragedy unfolding miles away but impossible to ignore. On August 6, 1946, the first anniversary of the atomic bomb. Residents of Hiroshima prayed, gazing toward the epicenter where, a year earlier, 70,000 to 80,000 people were instantly vaporized, 30% of the population. This poignant image shows survivors honoring the dead amidst the still smoldering ruins, a silent reminder of the day humanity unleashed the power of the atom and changed warfare forever. In 1938, the monument to Czechoslovakia's founder Tomáš Masaryk lay in ruins in Bohumín following the Polish occupation that followed the infamous Munich Agreement. This image symbolizes the brutal dismemberment of Czechoslovakia, where not only the Nazis but also Poland took advantage of the Western powers' betrayal to tear pieces of the country apart, literally destroying the symbols of its brief independence before World War II.
In 1944, a joint Jedburgh team of US OSS and British SOE Special Operations Forces posed before infiltrating occupied France days before D-Day. These elite commandos, trained in sabotage and guerrilla warfare, would parachute behind enemy lines to organize the French resistance, blow up bridges and railways, and sow chaos among German forces just as the Allied invasion hit the beaches of Normandy. During the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in the 1980s, some Toronto gas stations boycotted Lada cars because they were Soviet-made, turning the pumps into Cold War protest fronts. This image reflects how geopolitical tensions seeped into everyday Canadian life, where even filling up with gas became a political act against the Kremlin and its products, symbolically punishing drivers of communist cars in the heart of capitalist territory. In 1893, writer Mark Twain posed in Nikola Tesla's New York laboratory, with the Serbian inventor visible in the background experimenting with high-frequency electricity. This extraordinary image captures the meeting of two geniuses of the era, the literary master and the electrical wizard, who fascinated visitors like Twain by demonstrating electrical spectacles that seemed like pure magic, illuminating light bulbs without wires and creating artificial lightning in his laboratory. In 1914, child laborers at a factory in Scotland Neck, North Carolina, posed for a photograph that documents the cruel reality of child labor in the American industrial age. This high-resolution image captures gaunt faces, threadbare clothing, and resigned expressions of childhoods stolen by machines, highlighting the brutal conditions that would eventually drive the first child labor protection laws in the United States. In August 1944, Polish civilians weep inconsolably as the bodies of victims are exhumed from the Majdanek extermination camp, one of the first liberated by the Red Army. This devastating image captures the moment the world began to grasp the scale of the Holocaust, as mass graves revealed Nazi atrocities and the horrified faces of those desperately searching for relatives among mountains of corpses. In September 1943, Corporal N.R.V. Chapman trains with an impact harness at the U.S. Army Parachute School at Fort Benning as part of the first group of Canadian paratrooper candidates. This image captures the brutal training methods where soldiers learn to absorb the impact of landing, preparing for the actual jumps they would soon make over occupied Europe during World War II. In the summer of 1990, devastated fans filled the streets of Leningrad mourning the death of Viktor Tsoi, the ultimate icon of Soviet rock, who died tragically in a car accident in Latvia. His death so shocked Soviet youth that some fans took their own lives, turning the Kino frontman into a generational martyr whose songs of freedom had accompanied the collapse of communism. On December 5, 1933, Americans euphorically celebrated the end of Prohibition after 13 years of illegal alcohol, gangs, and speakeasies. This historic image captures the moment saloons and bars legally reopened, putting an end to America's most failed social experiment, one that had only enriched gangsters like Al Capone and turned millions of respectable citizens into criminals for having a beer. In September 1947, an Italian man leaves the Julian March with his meager belongings as the region is ceded to Yugoslavia under the Treaty of Paris. This heartbreaking image captures one of the 350,000 forced exoduses of Italians expelled from Istria and Dalmatia after World War II, victims of the brutal redrawing of European borders that turned entire populations into refugees overnight. On July 10, 1941, just weeks after the German invasion, families anxiously bid farewell to the Leningrad People's Militia marching to the front, many without proper military training. This poignant photograph by Alexander Mikhailov captures the beginning of the most brutal siege of World War II, where 872 days of Nazi encirclement would starve and freeze to death more than 1 million civilians in the heroic city. On Friday, November 22, 1963, John F. Kennedy smiled and waved to the crowd from his open-top limousine in Dallas, moments before 3 shots changed American history forever. This chilling image captures the last moments of presidential normalcy before the most shocking assassination of the 20th century, when Dealey Plaza became the scene of a tragedy that still fuels conspiracy theories 6 decades later. In 1953, French doctor Albert-André Nest, blind from birth, listened to a baby's heart by pressing his ear directly against the child's back instead of using a stethoscope. This extraordinary image reveals how this doctor developed such acute alternative senses that he could diagnose lung and heart diseases using only his hearing, defying all the medical conventions of his time and demonstrating that disability was no impediment to saving lives. On September 2, 1945, 450 naval aircraft flew menacingly over the USS Missouri during the Japanese surrender ceremony in Tokyo Bay, an overwhelming display of American air power. This spectacular photograph captures the symbolic moment of the end of World War II, where the Navy that had been humiliated at Pearl Harbor 4 years earlier now exhibited its absolute dominance over Japanese skies as delegates signed the unconditional surrender. On January 15, 1944, a U.S. Army medic carries blood plasma and blankets on his back as he traverses the Cassino area of Italy, one of the most brutal fighting zones on the Italian front. This image captures the heroic reality of medics risking their lives transporting vital supplies under constant enemy fire, where each bag of plasma could mean the difference between life and death for soldiers battered by German artillery in the frozen mountains.